Hi, everybody. This is the Non-Prophets. We're back again after a week off for the 4th of July holiday. This show is brought to you by the Atheist Community of Austin. I'm the host, Jeff D. My co-host is Mary McManamee.
Hello.
And sitting in for our newly wedded co-host, Vic Farrow, we have Dennis Loubet.
Yes, hello. I'm not newly wedded.
Vic. Yay, Vic and Cassandra. Woohoo,
yes,
get 'em.
Congratulations.
Yeah, Vic hauled off and got married to his darling girlfriend, Cassandra. When exactly did this happen?
Thursday.
Thursday they got wed?
I think. Well, wait. Let me think. Let's see. No, we got the announcement Friday, but I think they told folks on Thursday. Probably at happy hour.
Oh, okay. That they were gonna?
Yeah. But they actually did it on Friday.
Right.
We knew.
You did?
Being out of town, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get the whole story from him last night that they spent a whole day going around town on the fast track, the marriage license thing. There's like a certain time of day you can go to a certain office and sign certain papers and get it all done in a day.
That's so romantic.
That's what they did. When Manda and I got married, we did, we got in this car with some friends of hers from Michigan State University. Car had a flat tire on the way to the courthouse. During the flat tire, one of the guys got out, ran to a flower stand and bought flowers so there'd be flowers. Drove to the Justice of the Peace, got married in the courtroom, standing around a model village, because this is the courtroom where they do traffic court. So there were little model cars and buildings and streets and stop signs and things. We were like, whoa, Godzilla monsters standing around the top. And the Justice of the Peace brought out his little ancient piece of paper that he's kept. It's like the same one he's had over his entire 50-year-long career that he uses for every marriage ceremony.
Don't forget Susan and Scott.
Yeah.
What about Susan and Scott?
They are.
Oh, did you not hear?
Either getting married.
They got married. Cassandra and Vic. Yeah.
I didn't hear this, and I guess I just assumed they were married all along.
No, they haven't.
Is that what that
you
email
are so
was?
Out of the loop.
I'm out of the loop. Well, I don't participate in our just general discussion much anymore, because then I get into fights with frickin' objectivists and libertarians and stuff.
They got hitched let's see, it would have been Tuesday, right before Philippe's lecture on string theory.
Well, spring is clearly in the air, this being summer, and that's why our opening music today was Season Cycle by XTC. I also want to mention, this is our 30th episode of this show.
Wow.
Which is astonishing. We were sitting around, thinking how much it felt like, and 20 tops.
Yeah, I know.
30 episodes. Of course, a lot of us have none of us have been on every single episode. Not even Russell, and this is his studios.
Well, we're over the midpoint to getting to 52.
52 shows?
Yeah, that's right.
That can't be. Oh, yeah, sure, because it's July.
We're over the hump.
Amazing.
Wow.
We are live July 13, 2002. This show is brought to you by the Atheist Community of Austin, a non-profit educational organization promoting positive atheism and the separation of church and state. And now I'm burping, excuse me. We have weekly meetings Sunday mornings at the Hot Jumbo Bagel Shop at 307 West 5th Street, right here in Austin, Texas, at 10:30 a.m., except for the first Sunday of each month, when we have our lecture series at 11 a.m. in the Longhorn Room of Furr's Cafeteria at North Cross Mall. Our next lecture will be on August 4. Our previous lecture was just last weekend, wasn't it? Either of you go to the lecture?
Yes.
And how was it? That was the Texas Freedom Network.
That was the textbook stuff. And it was
very informative.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
Wow.
Can either of you remember that well enough to do a short comment on that to fill in the audience? We're talking, to fill in the audience on what's going on, the Atheist Community of Austin is talking with another local organization, the Texas Freedom Network. I guess they're a statewide organization.
Mm-hmm. They were started by Ann Richards' daughter.
Yeah, and they combat the incursion of the religious right into Texas politics.
And for our nationwide listeners, if you don't know Ann Richards,
is the good person who was our governor before George Bush.
Actually, there was somebody before him, I thought. Maybe not.
If you've ever seen...
I think he ran against her.
Oh, wait.
If you've ever seen the movie Bram Stoker's Dracula...
Yeah.
When Dracula's done up in the big white pompadour hairdo, that's pretty much what Ann Richards looked like.
Okay?
I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm just
She just
saying.
has big Texas hair. It's
Well,
true.
I say our governor, but actually she was before my time.
Yeah.
I wasn't in Texas.
Oh, you were.
You still had Ann
You were in
Richards when I got
California
here.
then. Huh?
All right. So anyway, so Texas Freedom Network is currently involved in a effort to oppose the influence of the religious right over the selection of public school textbooks here in Texas.
In particular, a couple, Mel and Norma Gabler, out of Longview, Texas, have been doing this for something like 30 years.
They are the fundamentalists.
Yes, and they are so influential that the board sends them the books before anybody else even gets a chance to see them.
The school board does, or the book publishers do?
No, not the publishers, but maybe it's the publishers also.
The publishers do. Because these people raise a big stink about every book that has like these so-called non-Christian things in it.
They show up at every textbook hearing. They did this for so long.
You know, it's a publisher's worst nightmare to go through all the trouble and expense of having a book published and then nobody buys it for their school because this stupid people raise a stink about it.
Right.
So they basically just send their material straight to the Gabblers for approval, so that they can excise all the stuff about having women in business suits or
that's nice to have.
Or multiracial people displayed in a positive light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, get this. Women are not allowed, like Russell was saying, women are not allowed, according to the Gablers, should not be allowed to carry briefcases.
So this is the case.
What?
So,
in photographs.
What?
Yeah.
So this
is somehow offensive.
People are insane.
This is the case where you can literally ask, who died and made them king?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, how come they're suddenly de facto in charge?
Because nobody knows who was spearheading
Because nobody
this.
opposed them,
Yeah.
and they were so influential that the book publishers realized, well, if we don't get the backing of these people, our books won't go through.
Right. And our speaker from the Texas Freedom Network told us during this lecture, she said for so many years, not even the press would show up to these hearings.
Yeah.
Nobody was interested. They got no coverage, and the Gablers were the only people there who were following it.
So, Texas Freedom Network is organizing its effort.
Yeah.
Is that the whole I Object campaign? That's the I Object campaign.
It. Yeah.
They are organizing a opposition to the influence of the religious right in these textbook hearings. So the Atheist Community of Austin invited a representative of theirs down to fill us in on the details, and the plan is that we're going to get involved. So that's that for now, and we'll bring more details to you in later episodes of the show. ACA board meetings take place at 10 a.m. right before our regular meeting on the second Sunday of every month. That's going to be tomorrow, right? Board meeting. Okay. The board meetings are open to all ACA members, but you can only vote if you're on our board of directors. If you shop at the Randall's Food Store chain, you can give them our nonprofit organization number, 5158, and 1% of your purchase will automatically be donated to the Atheist Community of Austin. I see Mary is jotting down the 5158 number. Do you shop at Randall's?
I do. I have one right down the street.
So what's taking you so long?
Well, every time I write it down, I always lose my piece of paper that I wrote it on. So it's a good excuse to get a PDA. And I think I'll do that very soon.
All right.
Yes, do it. It changed my life.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Let me get through my announcements. The Godless Gamers meet every Monday night at right here at Glasser Studios. How was Godless Gamers last night?
Not yesterday.
Last week. Last week.
Godless Gamers was very good last week.
Was I here?
No. Except at the end, I mean, it was good except at the end when we tried to play Monopoly with Vic, and Vic doesn't trade properties. He was like, yeah, well, you give me $1,000 for it.
I thought that was legal to do that, to trade it for money.
You can, but it's no fun. I mean, the game wasn't going anywhere.
That's right. I wasn't here last week, because it was last weekend that I was in Columbus at the Origins Game Convention, and I came back. Yeah. I was here Monday, but I had a horrible cold, which I'm still getting over right now. So if I cough or sneeze or hack or anything while I'm talking, that's the reason why.
We'll evacuate.
Yeah.
ACA Happy Hour is at Antonio's near Highway 35 and 183, again here in Austin, Texas. Thursday nights at 7:30. And if you get there and don't see anybody else around, just hang out because people trickle in as the night goes on. For more information, you can call our voicemail at area code 512-371-2911 or visit the ACA website at www.atheist-community.org. Now, a reminder once again for those people that are listening to the show, if you're if you're not already there, but you are listening live, meaning you're listening on a Saturday between 2 and 3:30 Central Time, you can join in a chat room discussion with other people listening to the show live. Just go to www.atheistnetwork.com and click on the chat link. We've got a nice, healthy turnout in the chat room right now. Want to welcome everybody into the chat room.
Yeah. Oh, I've got a question. Does anybody know the date of the school board hearing?
None of us know offhand.
Not sure offhand. Sorry.
Was that a question from the
Yes.
chat room? Is that why you are yelling that answer over towards your TV screen?
But if you want to check out,
well, they couldn't see me otherwise.
But tell them to check out Yahoo Groups, the Atheist List, and they can find that info because we've been having a conversation about that this week.
Check our Yahoo Groups. That's Atheist Community. Oh, I'll type it in the chat.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, well, yeah. Oh, and by the way, if you go to the Atheist Community of Austin website, www.atheist-community.org, on that page, we post prior episodes of this here audio show that you can listen to on demand, go back about 10 episodes or so. And along with each one, we post a log of the chat room discussions. So when URLs get, or email addresses get mentioned, we always try to type them in there so you can just go and look for them. Now, we got a little bit of old news. We got an email from Dennis Hendricks commenting on something we talked about last week called the Euthyphro dilemma, and I have no idea how to pronounce that. It's Euthyphro.
I think it's Euthyphro.
Euthyphro?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Basically, the idea of this philosophical dilemma is it makes no sense to say that moral rules come from God. Mm-hmm. Because if the moral rules come from God because he just makes them up, then they're exactly as arbitrary as anybody else making them up, and therefore they're nothing special. Or if they are in fact eternal ultimate truths, then they transcend the God, because the God is just referring to some higher or external ultimate truth, and then he is not in fact a lawgiver. He's only a functionary telling you what they are. Mm-hmm. So that is all the details on that, and here is a URL which I will now drive Russell insane by handing him so he can type it in.
Yes.
But I should say one thing.
The guy who asked the question is in the chat room right now. As Andy22.
Hi, Andy22.
22.
Dennis is on his Andy. That's bizarre. Okay, let me read this once out loud. Socrates.berkeley.edu/tilde F13MIN4/6/Odyssey ODYSSEY/Euthyphro.htm. That's EUTHYPHRO. Why there's no Euthyphro.com website, I don't know. And now Russell will type that on there for us. Okay, and we are prepared to go into news, unless anybody else has more distractions.
Not at this time.
Nothing? Mary, why don't you start, because that's Russell's typing.
Okay, sure will. Well, President Bush is taking the tone of a preacher again. This is according to the Scripps Howard News Service. Go figure! Declaring that Americans have, quote, received our rights from God, unquote. President Bush shrugged.
Great. Wow, that's wonderful.
And that he feels, quote, the prayers of the people, unquote, as he carries out his duties.
He said that again?
Yes.
Did nobody mention to him last time? Last time he claimed he could feel the prayers being directed at him, that was insane and stupid and constituted a test for the existence of God. We could, or at least for the efficacy of prayer, because we could put him in a sealed box and have people pray at him, and he'd be able to press a button. Yes, I'm being prayed at. No, I'm not being prayed at, and we could find out for sure if anything was going on.
Yeah.
You know, if you're gonna claim things like this, you don't want to speak in those kinds of testable specifics.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to know.
Their argument would be though. Okay, sorry, Dennis. Go ahead.
And I say it's nice to know that all the sacrifice that the founding fathers made, and the whole revolution, and to free ourselves from England and all this stuff had nothing to do with the rights we have.
Right. Yeah, and nothing to do with whether they were successful or not.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
God just snapped his magical pinkies.
And it all worked out.
Suddenly we had a country.
Yeah.
Jeez,
And that's
nice to know those people were
That's
all
exactly
irrelevant.
the kind of stuff that these people want to put in the textbooks here in Texas.
Nice to know our founding fathers were irrelevant.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, getting back to your
Thanks, Mr. President.
Your argument, Jeff, about why don't we just put Bush in a box and have people
No, that's not exactly what I said.
Can we say that here?
Sorry, I'm paraphrasing, but
I'm not threatening the president.
no, I don't mean that. I just mean
threatening the box.
I just mean have him, be in some sealed container. Well, okay, that won't work either. No, but
just don't put the red buttons.
Don't.
Secret Service.
Yeah. Just don't. In other words, have him in a place where people can pray at him, and he doesn't know they're there, and much like a game show.
He already doesn't know we're here.
He'll be in the other room, and
Apparently.
well, his argument might be, well, I do this on faith, and so obviously, if people pray at me within this place that I can't hear anybody, it's because it's faith, and
don't
we can't
be
prove
defending
it.
Shrub to me.
No,
now you read the words.
I am.
He said he could feel the prayers.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
He's going to say he can feel the prayers. I think he should damn well be tested on it.
Now I wonder if he could feel curses. That might be nice to try.
That 12-year-old girl in Colorado that disproved therapeutic touch, right?
Oh, yeah.
Those therapeutic touch practitioners claim they can feel human energy auras.
We did that story
We'll set up a cardboard screen, right?
Right.
Just a simple cardboard screen. Mr. President, is the little girl praying for you now or not? Mr. President?
I think you answered your own question. I'm just raising the point because again, this is the kind of nonsense that I think people are thinking about when they're making these kind of claims. But anyway, that aside, Bush is responding to the ninth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals decision, of course, the Pledge of Allegiance, which said the United States is, quote, a nation that values our relationship with an almighty, unquote, and that citing God in the pledge, quote, doesn't violate rights.
Well, okay. Well, first of all, nations don't have opinions about anything. Mm-hmm. The people in the nations have opinions, and you can talk about what majority opinions are, right? But as a whole, the United States has no unified opinion about whether, what did he say about gods? About relationships with the Almighty.
Right.
Right.
That is utter bullshit.
It is.
And what was the other thing?
And that citing God in the pledge, quote, doesn't violate rights. Now, you and I talked about this a little bit before the show.
Yeah, I mean, I think the rights question does come into play at some point, but certainly what having the government require children to say the Pledge of Allegiance does, when the pledge says under God in it, it does violate the Constitution.
Clearly.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Constitution says what it says largely for the purpose of establishing and maintaining rights, such as freedom of religion. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yep. And it gets worse.
Okay.
He also goes on to say, quote, this is Bush again, Bush shrub, as a matter of fact, it's a confirmation of the fact that we received our rights from God, as proclaimed in our Declaration of Independence.
So let me get this straight. Mm-hmm. When did that go? When did those words go into the pledge?
1954. Yeah.
54. Let me do a little math.
Okay.
1776.
That's basically 50 years.
The Constitution, I believe, was ratified in like 80. It was like 86. I think it was like 86. We'll be in a rough ballpark figure. Let's just say we worked on it for 10 years. 1776 minus 84 is 2. I did this wrong.
What are you trying to figure?
Okay, 2002 minus 1786. That's how many years ago? 6, 1, 2. Okay, 216 years ago. I'm working on it. 216 years ago, right? Of the 216 years that our country has been in existence, the confirmation of the fact that we received our rights from God only came 54 years ago.
Right.
So for more than 150 years, we had no confirmation of that fact.
Yep.
Because this was the confirmation, was when Eisenhower signed that little slip of paper.
Mm-hmm. Yep. In 1954.
Okay, put them in the box. Put them in the box, let's test them.
Well, I wanted to share also what the Reverend Barry Lynn, he's executive director of the Americans United for Separation of Church and State. He says
Barry, great speaker.
Yeah, he said that Bush's proselytizing runs the risk of blurring the line between religious practices and running the government. Quote, he does not seem to want to keep even a decent distance between government and religion. Nope. He wants to mesh the two together in whatever manner he can create.
Yeah.
According to Lynn, this is where it gets really dangerous, folks. According to Lynn, Bush may have in fact unwittingly hinted that he intends to violate the Constitution regarding the appointment of federal judges.
Oh, yeah.
In criticizing the Ninth Circuit's decision, Bush said the United States needs, quote, a common sense judges who understand that our rights were derived from God, and those are the kind of judges I intend to put on the bench.
That's not an unwitting hint. That's it may be unwitting, but that is a bald-faced statement.
Yeah.
He will appoint judges who agree with him that all of our rights come from their invisible friend.
Yep. And not only that, Bush apparently said, according to Lynn, he said if you're not religious, you can't be a judge. That violates the central principle of our constitutional system.
Yep. Who said that?
Bush, according to Lynn, though. Now, I don't have a direct quote from Lynn, from Bush, saying that. But Bush did say, again...
Here's the quote that says he won't appoint you to the Supreme Court unless you believe this particular religious thing.
Exactly.
And that's a religious test, and that is expressly forbidden in the Constitution.
Article 6.
Not like these nitwits have ever balked from violating things that are expressly forbidden in the Constitution before.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep. It's disturbing, to say the least.
Russell, do some news, will you?
Treason, as far as I'm concerned.
Shall I do some... Oh.
Do whatever news you want to do.
Let's lead in with the big Austin story.
Yeah. This has been all over the news.
Yeah, all over the news, happening right here in our
Once again, let me preemptively apologize to the entire rest of the planet for Texas.
Yes.
Go ahead, Russell.
Pastor is charged in assault of boy, 11. Police accused a South Austin pastor and his twin brother Monday of beating an 11-year-old boy nearly to death for misbehaving during Bible class. After saying he was whipped with a tree limb for 1.5 hours last week, Louis Guerrero spent 4 days sedated with morphine, recovering in the pediatric intensive care unit at Children's Hospital. A nurse told investigators that the injuries caused the child's kidneys to fail and that he needed a blood transfusion to survive. Police have charged 23-year-old Joshua Thompson, who oversees a Spanish-speaking congregation that meets at Capital City Baptist Church, and his brother Caleb, with injury to a child, a felony punishable by up to life in prison. They had not been arrested as of Monday night. Police say Joshua Thompson... I got this story. It was kind of old when I got it.
Okay.
So I believe they have been arrested by now, right?
Yeah.
Because I have seen them all over the news, and they are smiling in everything I see.
And that's
They're being led around. They are convinced that this is what God wanted them to do, if I read the expression on their face right.
Now, we all recall the episode we did talking about that book about beaten kids.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is the consequence.
A child's heart.
It's not
shepherding a child's heart. Yeah, and it's not like if these guys are found guilty that they will be some kind of aberration within the Baptist community. No, there are books widely circulated among religious people that plainly spell out the Bible wants you to beat children who misbehave, that it is your responsibility given to you by God to beat children that misbehave.
Yeah.
And that if the government doesn't like it, the thing to do is to hide the fact that you are beating your children when they misbehave. Okay? This is not a couple of lone lunatics. This is the fruit of religious fundamentalism.
Yeah.
This is it.
Now listen to this part. Ariano said the pastor turned up rock music on the radio to muffle the boys' screams.
Mm-hmm.
And also to make the beating more enjoyable. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Can you just see these two? Can you just see these two identical twin ministers in this room? One of them holding a boy down onto the bed, while the other one beats him in time to,
whatever.
Slayer.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Good grief.
Or maybe it's Christian rock, which would be...
It would probably have to be Christian rock.
Yeah. I don't know, but...
Okay, well, at first it was just the one of them, but the boy resisted, so he had to call in his brother on him. Then he took him home, and when the Thompsons took the boy home later that morning, police say Joshua Thompson told Louis' stepfather that they had a big problem that revolved around the boys lying. According to the police affidavit, the pastor urged the stepfather to beat the child for 2 more hours.
Yeah.
Because he and his brother had failed to break him and fix the problem.
Break him? Well, they broke his kidneys.
Yeah, they broke his kidneys completely. So, well done, guys. Mission accomplished.
Yeah, we'll break this kid, organ by organ.
All right, let me do one. Let me inject a note of happiness, if I possibly can.
Yes.
Yep.
All right, Jesse Ventura declares July 4th Indivisible Day.
The last sane politician on Earth.
Yeah. You would never have expected it to be this guy. Ventura declared Indivisible Day on the suggestion of a group called Atheists of Minnesota for Human Rights, said David Ruth, a spokesman for the governor. Ventura signed the proclamation Tuesday before leaving for the 4th of July holiday. The document quoted former President James Madison on the separation of church and state and extolled the virtues of diversity and tolerance in protecting one nation, indivisible. That line echoed the Pledge of Allegiance, one nation under God, indivisible, except with reference to God deleted. In May, Ventura vetoed a bill that would have made public school children recite the pledge once per week, unless the school board opted out or the students specifically chose not to participate. Ventura's proclamation reads, "Eternal vigilance must be maintained to guard against those who seek to stifle ideas, establish a narrow orthodoxy, and divide our nation along arbitrary lines of race, ethnicity, and religious belief or non-belief." Ventura has also refused to sign a proclamation declaring a National Day of Prayer in Minnesota, citing the separation of church and state and saying that he represents all citizens of the state, including those who don't believe in prayer.
Jesse is so cool.
Ventura for president, damn it.
Is he still in the hospital?
Yeah.
Did you hear about that? He was
I don't know if he was.
he had a blood clot in his lung.
Yep.
And he was on chemicals and signing paperwork from his sick bed while they were giving him chemicals to dissolve the clot.
And he says he's not going to run again.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
We need you.
I know.
You seem to be the only one with any lick of sense.
Okay.
And he was good in Predator, too.
Yeah. All right.
I forgot he was in that.
All right. Go ahead, Mary. What do you got?
Okay. Well, let me stick with national news.
All right.
Now, we had some discussion about not doing this particular story just because it's not very informative, to tell you the truth. But it is kind of telling in terms of the pledge issue. And basically, let me just do the story.
Okay.
Okay. The 8-year-old girl whose father successfully sued to have the Pledge of Allegiance declared unconstitutional has no problem with reciting the pledge at school. This is according to her mother. She said she was concerned that the American public would be led to believe that her daughter is an atheist or that she's been harmed by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. But the girl's father, Michael Newdow, is, of course, the atheist behind the pledge lawsuit. And basically, the upshot of the article is just that, and I think this is really, rather than focusing on the custody hearing and all of that, or the relationship between this girl's parents, which sounds like a lot of maybe the impetus behind, the mother now coming out and saying, no, my daughter really does believe in saying under God, and she has no problem with it whatsoever. Basically, the father was receiving a lot of criticism because he says the main thrust of this case is not my daughter, it's me. I mean, that's a quote that has been used several times, apparently, in the media, to talk about the case.
That's fine. As a citizen, he has every right to stand up and challenge violations of the Constitution.
I agree.
Every citizen has that right.
I agree.
So what's the issue?
The issue is that some legal experts say the mother's revelation, the girl herself willingly recites the pledge in class, could cast doubts on the legitimacy of the case.
No, bullshit. The question is whether it's constitutional or not. Doesn't matter. The little girl could love to say the pledge. Mm-hmm. She might like to stick the word God between every other word that she says. Doesn't matter. That is not the issue. The issue is the constitutionality of the practice of the government organizing these official sayings of the pledge.
Right. Yeah. Right.
You have a follow-up about the pledge story, don't you? From the judge?
Yes, I do.
In case, why don't we do that one right away since we're on the subject?
Okay, let me get that. Let's see.
Has there been, any developments in this story for the last 2 weeks? I mean, when is this case gonna be reviewed?
I don't know. Does anybody in the chat room know?
If anybody in the chat room knows of any developments in the pledge case,
give us an update.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or if anybody can tell me a single legal objection to that court ruling,
that would be good.
As opposed to just the senators calling it stupid, or saying it's against the will of the American people. An actual defensible legal argument. Mm-hmm. Do they have any yet? It's been 2 weeks. You'd think they could dredge one up by now.
They'd come up with something. Yeah, I don't know offhand.
Uva Jed in the chat room says, probably referring to the mother, she's probably more concerned with the death threats.
As a kid. They're making death threats against the kid.
But the mom, who says that the kid is a Christian, right, may be saying that. I don't know. I'm not gonna question
the kid.
Yeah. That's horrible.
I am not gonna question the motives of the mother, right? She can say whatever she wants.
Christian love.
That's fine. But the issue is whether that practice is constitutional or not, and that is entirely separate from whether that girl minded. Mm-hmm. So go ahead.
Okay. Well, according to the judge, the appeals court judge who declared the Pledge of Allegiance an unconstitutional endorsement of religion says he was following Supreme Court precedents. Judge Alfred Goodwin says he and a concurring judge, Stephen Reinhart, believed the 2-1 decision last week was consistent with a long line of church school rulings from the nation's highest court. This article from the Associated Press says that legal scholars disagree on whether that's true, but most say the Supreme Court will overturn the ruling if it gets that far. And of course, that's, what I think everybody kind of has a hunch will happen if it gets that far.
I don't know. I'm not that pessimistic about it.
I try not to be, but it's awfully hard with Clarence Thomas and Scalia on there. I mean, I don't know. I just don't know about how the others might vote.
Most of these church-state separation issues, I mean, there's the occasional aberration like the vouchers thing that just went through. Mm-hmm. That I still don't understand. But that's actually...
That's a lot fuzzier than this, though.
Well, that's true. And also, that's only one... church-state ruling that went in favor of church, that I can think of in recent times for these guys. I mean, they shot down the football high school prayers.
Yep.
They've done a lot of things.
That's right.
To help maintain the wall, and so this one may very well, get supported by them. I don't know.
I wonder. And actually, when this reporter interviewed Goodwin, that's Alfred Goodwin over the phone, he said just what you said. The strongest cases were what the Supreme Court has been saying about school prayers, including athletic events. This indicated that the Supreme Court was reading the Establishment Clause rather broadly. We felt we were consistent with those opinions.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So. I will say that one of the worst things that we can do, one of the best ways we can ruin any chances that there are for this ruling to be validated by the Supreme Court is to express our willingness to accept a ruling against this. You see, I mean, if we all say, well, it'll probably get shot down, can't imagine it being upheld, despite how flagrantly unconstitutional it is. If the Supreme Court gets the feeling that the general public isn't going to notice and isn't going to care, particularly if they violate the Constitution, that's the best way to make sure that this doesn't go through. We need to demand vocally, as often as possible, that the Constitution be upheld. And not just capitulate before the fact by being pessimistic.
Oh, well, it's not going to go through. Well, I don't know. I don't want to say that it won't, because I think there are several justices who, considering their ruling on these school prayer at athletic events, for example, there was a case in 2000, I think it was, of that I was reading on the web. And sure enough, the majority, even though, of course, Thomas and Scalia said, no, this is okay to have prayer at athletic events, the rest of the court said, no, it's not.
Yeah.
And,
right. And but we are the non-prophets. We don't predict the future here, right?
No crystal balls here.
This is not about predicting the future.
Yeah.
What it is about is strategy.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if we want to be taken seriously, we can't be capitulating before they even review the case, right? We can't be saying, well, no way they'll ever let this stand before they've even taken a look at it. That's just giving it away.
It's just more cynicism on my part.
No matter what we might think that is most likely to happen. Because, that's not our business to predict the future.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Let's go to Russell now.
All right.
My turn.
Yeah, and then I'll do another one.
Well, this is interesting. A few Saudis defy a rigid Islam to debate their own intolerance.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Prompted by the September 11th attacks on the United States, a cautious debate is taking place in Saudi Arabia's closed society over intolerance toward non-Muslims and attitudes toward the West that are now viewed by some as inspiring unacceptable violence. Mention that 15 of the 19 hijackers involved in attacking America were Saudis to almost any room full of people here, and denials still pour forth. There is no concrete evidence, people will argue, adding that even if Osama bin Laden, a native son, was somehow involved, he was led astray by his rabid Egyptian coterie. But
what?
No true Saudi. Okay, cool.
Yeah. First time I've heard that one. But cracks are beginning to appear in the facade of disavowal. A small group of intellectuals, academics, journalists, and religious scholars are quietly suggesting that change is needed. Yeah, whenever someone says religious scholars in this country...
We have academics and intellectuals here that have been saying rational, intelligent things for decades, and nobody ever pays any attention to them.
Exactly. This is the sort of stuff that gets marginalized. But it's encouraging to know that it happens over there.
Kind of interesting that when you're talking about, religious texts, you're a scholar, but when you're talking about Star Wars and knowing everything about that, you're a geek.
Let's institute that rule, shall we? From now on, we will refer to those people as religious geeks.
Yes.
Yeah. So what are the religious geeks in Saudi Arabia?
I don't like sharing a name with them, actually.
So what have the religious geeks in Saudi Arabia decided? I like it. It rolls off the tongue well.
That's right.
We have to confront a lot of things that we thought were normal, said Khaled M. Batarfi.
Okay, wait. I'm sorry. I'm going to interrupt you again.
Yes.
Let's not do that, because that's rude.
Yeah.
Instead, we will refer to Star Wars fans as Star Wars scholars.
Yes.
Yeah.
And intellectuals and professors.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead. Sounds good.
We have to confront a lot of things that we thought were normal, said Khaled M. Batarfi, the managing editor of Al Madina, a daily newspaper pushing the limits of what can be published. I think those limits aren't very far out. We have to examine the opinions that resulted in these bad actions and see if they are wrong or people just took them out of context. Before September 11th, it was just an opinion. I think we should hate others, he said. After September 11th, we found out ourselves that some of these thoughts brought actions to hurt us that put all Muslims on trial. Imagine that. Actions rising from thoughts.
Wow.
What will they think of
consequences from those actions.
Wow.
And nasty consequences from the thoughts.
Such positions remain controversial. After scores of Saudi religious geeks and scholars,
No.
and scholars and
Star Wars
academics,
scholars.
Yeah.
The Saudi Star Wars scholars.
Saudi religious scholars and academics issued a manifesto this spring suggesting that
we need, another
Muslims
manifesto.
might find common ground with the West. They were subjected to withering rebuke by those who accept the Wahhabi notion that Islam thrives on hostility toward infidels.
Well,
You give the false assumption
I
that
always like to have a little Wahhabi with my sushi.
You give the
Wasabi.
false impression that many people condemned the war against America, read one such denunciation on a popular website, which unfortunately doesn't have a URL. But the truth is that many people are happy declaring this war, which gave Muslims a sense of relief. In another, Sheikh Hamad Reis al-Reis, an elderly blind scholar, suggested the manifesto writers showed too much sympathy for the victims of September 11th and debased Islam by neglecting to mention that jihad or holy war remains a central tenet. You cry for what happened to the Americans in their markets and offices and ministries and the disasters they experienced, he wrote, and you forget the oppression and injustice and aggression of those Americans against the whole Islamic world. What's interesting?
Well, yeah, no, he's got a point, right? We have been big pricks in the Middle East.
Yeah.
Okay, we would really like to stop. Some of us would really like to stop our own nation from acting like such a bunch of pricks over there. You know, if you guys over in Saudi Arabia would just get your shit together too, we can clean house and be friends again. That's the right way to do it.
Yeah, and you know, everyone over here, I'm sure, would be delighted to hear that there are moderate voices speaking out against the more extreme aspects of their religion.
Yeah.
But when it happens over here, they get death threats and 99 senators writing saying that they're stupid.
You mean much like what happens in Saudi Arabia?
Yeah.
Right, we get treated the same way.
But see, as long as it's happening, as long as the other guys are making concessions, we're happy.
Yeah. All right. More news. Scientists build polio virus from scratch.
Fascinating.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Scientists have built the virus that causes polio from scratch in the lab using nothing more than genetic sequence information from public databases and readily available technology.
And Betty Crocker. From scratch. No, I don't know.
They had an easy bake-up
Yeah, an
or
easy
something?
bake-up.
That's not from scratch, though.
Yeah,
That's from
okay,
mix.
that'd be from mix.
When you can buy a mix from the polio virus off the shelf at
It will be
7-Eleven.
weird.
Let's not.
Yeah.
Much of the technology needed for this experiment has been around for more than a decade, so researchers expected the experiment to work. Conceptually, it's not a surprise, says Eric Rubin from Harvard's School of Public Health. Nonetheless, it is the first time that researchers have generated an infectious agent from scratch. Paul says, quote, it's, I've lost the part of the article where they identified that some guy whose last name is Paul says, it's important that the scientific world knows that this is possible. If we know about it, we can prepare for it. Of course, expressing concerns about terrorists getting hold of this technology and reviving dead illnesses and releasing them again. Paul and her colleagues used chemical techniques to produce large segments of DNA corresponding to portions of the polio virus. They made one segment themselves, then ordered the rest from a company that routinely machine generates DNA. So if they had simply had the resources of that company, they could have built all the rest of the parts themselves.
There you go.
Once they had all the segments, the team pasted the pieces together to produce...
Wow!
That's a remarkable image.
Just bizarre.
Wow.
See all these scientists find out in kindergarten with their bottles of glue.
They're pasting.
Of course.
Pasted the pieces together to produce one long stretch of DNA.
They probably wouldn't eat it, though. They wouldn't eat the glue.
Or the polio virus, I would imagine.
Cut and paste is Control V and Control C. Remember that.
Good point. They then used a commercially available enzyme to convert the DNA into RNA, the genetic form of the polio virus. Finally, they added the RNA to a soup made from human cells. I've had some of that soup. No. This enabled the RNA to
With
use
your
the...
wasabi? Wahabi?
My wahabi and my human cell soup. What the hell has happened to our show today?
I don't know. There's some people that'd like to make human soup.
This enabled the RNA to use the cellular machinery of the human cells to create the proteins that complete the virus particles. The result was an infectious agent that could destroy cultured human cells and paralyze or kill mice in much the same way as the normal polio virus.
Wow.
Now, why is this interesting? Well, there's the obvious, terrorist concern over time.
Right.
And also, why did they want to do it?
Because if you can build it, then you know pretty much everything about it, including helps to cure it, probably.
And viruses are just a hair short of what we regularly recognize as living cells. And so we're just a hair short from manufacturing living things.
Incredible.
From raw elements.
Yeah.
From raw elements.
Right.
Wow.
Which, of course, would fly in the face of the claim that
Only
something
God
divine
has that.
That's right.
But then, of course, you have all the intelligent design guys waiting in the wings saying see? It's intelligence to make
That's
life.
fine. That's fine, guys. You know what? Life may have been intelligently designed, but there's no souls. Because if there were souls, that would be a capability human beings don't have with our DNA manufacturing machines.
Right.
To put souls in our little microbes that we're making now, a few years down the line, where we're making entire cells.
In our easy bake oven.
Right? Yeah. We can't put souls in things.
Yeah.
Therefore, nothing that's alive has them. Or, if we are putting souls in things just by doing this, then we have every single power your gods got. So they're going to lose either way.
Of course, I've heard that joke where then God makes the comeback. Yeah, well, get your own dirt or something, or make your own dirt now or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
We can do that.
Well, no. All we can do is rearrange currently existing matter. We can't create stuff.
And energy.
Ex nihilo.
Yeah, but the same creationists, one of their big arguments is that all the matter had to come from somewhere. So there had to be something pre-existing.
Oh, okay.
Well, if there had to be something pre-existing, then
they're rearranging. Then God's just rearranging matter himself. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, I have a question.
Even if all that was pre-existing was the God,
right?
Well, fine. Big deal.
And that's where it came from.
There's pre-existing stuff. If God himself didn't pre-exist, he couldn't do it either. So the requirement for pre-existing stuff is not a obstacle. It's not an argument.
Something else that's interesting, too, is that, of course, as we know, viruses mutate. And this is one of the reasons why HIV has proved to be so sinister, is that every time they seem to get close and figuring out how this virus might be stopped, it changes.
Polio is a much, 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 much simpler thing. That's why we were able to largely eradicate it.
Well, since they're making this... Well, here's my question. Since they're making this now in a lab, will this version of the virus be able to mutate?
It's exactly the same DNA as the original, and that's what the story seems to be saying, then
it'll behave
do exactly what the original could. And we kicked the original's ass.
Well, but could we kick this one's ass if it got out?
If it's got exactly the same genetic material, it's going to behave exactly the same way.
Well, I guess that's my question.
So exactly the same techniques are going to kick its ass.
Okay, so in other words, the reason that they did this was to study it and to figure out how we could make something from scratch. To make a virus.
Right. You notice they didn't manufacture, AIDS or something.
Yeah, they knew they could do this.
Yeah.
Right? They knew it would work.
Yeah.
They just followed through. And they thought that it was important to follow through, part of the rest of the article that I snipped. They thought it was important to follow through partly to actually demonstrate that this thing they knew could be done, so that we can now be prepared for things like terrorists doing it.
Proof of concept.
Got the idea first.
Yeah.
It's a proof of concept.
Right.
If they attack us with it, we can tear it apart. Or,
But we know then not to necessarily throw away all of our polio vaccine once we have completely eradicated polio, because we still have a record of its DNA sequence, somebody else can bring it back again.
Yeah.
Well, that's important stuff to know.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, Mary?
Okay, let's see. Well,
That's cool.
this is more of just a general news story that is interesting, but not really that related to religion.
Stop making excuses.
All right, I'm just saying.
We have these discussions before the show, so
I
we can
know.
hammer on whether the story should be done or not.
Okay, well, let me just get into it. All right, son of Sam serial killer David Berkowitz told a New York State parole board this week that he only vaguely remembers gunning down 6 people in a crime spree that terrorized New York City in 1977.
Me, I'd remember that for a long, long time.
I think so. Yeah, so basically he's saying that he does not deserve parole. He should stay in prison until he dies and only appeared to publicly apologize for his crimes.
So his defense is, I forgot?
Yeah. No, he's not making a defense.
No, he's not. He's saying, I want to stay in prison. And he says, I wish I could go back and change the past. I can't, so I came to terms with this and realized that I'm here in prison.
It's some of that old reverse psychology.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Don't throw me out into that cold, cruel world.
The irony here is that he'll be eligible for parole again. This seems awfully fast, but in June of 2004. Maybe that's not unusual, but he's serving 6 consecutive life sentences at the maximum security facility in Fallsburg. But basically, the reason I decided to go ahead and do this story is because he says that he has converted from Judaism to Christianity. He says he did this in 1987, and now he has no desire to hurt anyone. Because of that.
Right. Because Christianity makes you not want to hurt people.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but Moses makes you want to kill people.
What was that story we just did about the 2 ministers here in our own town of Austin, Texas, that beat a kid until his kidneys broke? Yep. Simply for cheating on his Bible quiz?
He memorized his Bible verses. And that's a bad thing? I thought that was considered positive. Yeah, that's
I don't know exactly what
what
form the cheating took.
That's what was widely reported in the news reports that I read about that story.
So clearly, the son of Sam's argument is flawed.
Oh, you would think.
Russell, you want to do another? Or should I?
Let me see. You better go.
All right. This is us.
I'm going to get to my email exchange later.
Yeah, we will.
I don't care about my other news stories.
This is half lunacy and half a bright ray of sunshine. Okay? Mm-hmm. Politicians dissent from religious speech. Lexington, Kentucky. Several politicians moved yesterday to distance themselves from a minister's comments about immigrants at a church-sponsored patriotic rally last Tuesday night. U.S. Representative Ernie Fletcher said yesterday that he was deeply disappointed and appalled by comments about non-Christian immigrants by Jeff Fugate. How would you pronounce that? F-U-G-A-T-E?
Yeah, Fugate.
Fugate or something.
Fugate. Pastor of Clays Mill Road Baptist Church. Lexington mayoral candidates Scott Crosby and Teresa Isaac, who also attended the event at Applebee's Park, also distanced themselves from Fugate's claims that opponents of Christianity should go into exile and that non-Christians shouldn't bring their religions with them when they immigrate to the United States.
What?
The rally, which attracted 5,000 people, included short patriotic speeches by Fletcher and former Governor Brereton Jones, and lengthy sermons by 2 Baptist preachers. U.S. Senate candidate Lois Combs Weinberg also attended the event, but could not be reached for comment. During his sermon, Fugate said, "If you don't want a Christian nation, then go to one of the many nations that are heathen already, rather than perverting ours." America already has its own Bible and its own Christian faith, Fugate said Tuesday night. You're welcome to come, but leave your religions, your Bibles, all your other things back where you came from.
So he turned the Puritans who came to the country to escape religious persecution. He turned them back, right? I mean, it's different religion than his.
Yesterday, Fugate said he wasn't trying to denounce all non-Christian religions, just Islam and religions that are anti-American.
Oh, sure. What a lying slut.
Quote, Islam and America are opposites. They hate us. They want to kill us. Gee, I wonder why. I'm not anti-Jewish or anti-Catholic. I'm anti-Islam because that religion right there is anti-American. Fugate also insisted that he is not anti-immigrant. He noted that his church has...
He is anti-American, God damn it.
He noted that his church His
Absolutely.
church has a Hispanic ministry and provided transportation and interpretation for Spanish-speaking people who wanted to attend the rally. I see. So you are pro-immigrant as long as those immigrants are members of your church that you can bus around in order to exert your political muscle.
There you go.
Fugate said he has heard from dozens of people who approved of the rally and his message. I'm not surprised. I'm sure there are at least dozens of people that... Probably those two guys right here in Texas that beat that Hispanic kid with a stick.
There's
They
lots
had
of
their
bigots. I mean, you know, you can find them everywhere.
Those brothers had within their congregation, that little boy who was beaten, his family was a member of this, the Spanish-speaking part of the congregation.
Bigots aren't hard to find.
Fugate said he has heard from dozens of people who approved of the rally and his message. He also criticized liberals...
Oh,
let's check them off the list, shall we? Liberals, homosexuals, cross-dressers, what's that doing in there? Hollywood stars, rock musicians, and the U.S. Supreme Court. Wow.
That's a nice list there.
The other minister, Russell Anderson, suggested during the event that Catholics aren't Christians.
Oh, well, there you go.
So, on the one hand, it's horrifying that 5,000 people could gather to listen to these insane lunatics. But it's a bright ray of sunshine that every single politician who could be reached for comment afterward said that those guys were wrong and un-American. Well, Russell, your turn.
Yikes.
I don't have any more news that I want to get into.
Okay.
All right, well, let's turn to international news.
Yeah, let's try to get quickly through the remaining ones so we can get to Russell's thing.
Okay. This is from Malaysia. We've done several stories of late on what's going on with the Terengganu state government there. Apparently, they're forging ahead with plans to implement the Islamic criminal law known as hudud. The national government refuses to back the draconian legal system. The Terengganu state government is hiring judges for its new Islamic courts. The state assembly recently passed a bill enacting hudud law, making it the second state in Malaysia to do so. Now, the reason this is so terrifying is that hudud law, also known as Sharia law in some places, imposes strict punishments, such as amputating the limbs of thieves. Married Muslims guilty of adultery will be stoned to death, while unmarried offenders faced 100 strokes of the whip and a year's imprisonment. But, folks, it gets worse.
And kidney failure.
Yeah. If a woman is raped, she must produce 4 male eyewitnesses of good standing, or she can be found guilty of having illicit sex.
Can I just make a comment that if you've got 4 male witnesses of good standing around while somebody's trying to rape you, you're not going to get frickin' raped. Right? 4 males of good standing will interfere with the rape.
Right.
And if they don't, you can't call them 4 males of good standing. Not at all.
If they're all fundamentalist Islam, Muslims in good standing, then maybe they won't.
Well, the situation gets...
Well, if they're fundamentalist Muslims in good standing, they're probably joining in on the rape, and then they just tell the judge, she was asking for it.
Yeah.
Yes, Dennis, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
Well, on the bright side, I suppose, actually implementing the law in Terengganu may be difficult. Kelantan State, which, this is the PAS, this is the Pan-Malaysian Islamic Party, also passed the hudud law in 1993, but a court challenge has kept it from being implemented. So hopefully these challenges will continue. Malaysia is about 60% Muslim. Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad, a moderate Muslim, is intent on blocking the introduction of strict Islamic practices for fear of polarizing the population and searing away foreign investors. Yeah.
Wow.
So, remember, this is the same group that wanted to ban bikinis.
Hudud.
Right, off with those bikinis.
Yeah.
Hudud, and what was that other thing? Wasabi. Wahhabi. You know how these Muslim things start sounding more and more like Star Wars names of characters? It's like really weird. Dooku. Dooku law.
Get out the action figures.
Islamic Yoda law.
Do not touch Yoda. Okay.
Wahhabi, you must.
Wahhabi.
More religious craziness from across the sea, since we're talking about the Malaysia. We'll go to the Philippines now for our weekly religious back pedophilia scandal update.
Uh-oh.
There was nothing. In the past 2 weeks, I have seen nothing on the Catholic Church pedophilia outbreak.
Yeah.
Nothing. It's been completely driven from the airwaves. This is another thing that is important for all atheists to remember. Do not let this story die. Never, ever, ever let the world forget what got discovered first in Boston, and then the rest of the country, and then all over the planet. This cannot be allowed to be brushed under the carpet. 200 priests investigated for sexual abuses in Philippines. Some 200 Roman Catholic priests in the Philippines have been investigated for sexual misconduct over the past 20 years, a church leader said, as the clergy apologized for the abuses. Archbishop Orlando Quevedo, president of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines, said late Monday that some of the 200 priests have been dismissed and most have resigned from the church voluntarily. He gave no other details. So,
well, there you go.
At least in other parts of the world, they're still right on top of that.
What was that guy's name again? Orlando? That sounds like Lando Calrissian.
Yeah, Orlando Calrissian, the Archbishop of the Philippines.
Wow.
He does sound like a gas miner to me.
You are such a Star Wars scholar.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, maybe you should use the word fanboy.
So maybe someday I can hope to become a blind Star Wars scholar.
Religious fanboys discover that...
All right.
If only they would release Star Wars in ancient Greek and Latin.
Are you done?
We could be scholars.
Are you done, Mary?
I've got one more.
Is it important?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I think so.
Real quick, can I?
Okay.
I have another funny quote coming out of that religious geek story.
Okay, yeah.
Where they were talking. They were talking to. I mean, there's actually books written on how to shun non-Muslims. It says things like, "Don't smile at them. Don't wish them well on their holidays. Don't address them as friends." This is all coming from that Wahhabi guy.
Yeah, and the exact same kind of bullshit is in that book, Shepherding a Child's Heart.
Right.
In the section about how to make sure your children don't mix with non-fundamentalists.
I didn't read that far.
It doesn't go into details, but it basically says don't let your children mix with non-religious fundamentalists.
Yeah, well, it also mentions Saudis in general and senior princes in particular reject the notion that this kind of teaching helps spawn terrorists. Well, of course I hate you because you're Christian, but that doesn't mean I want to kill you, a professor of Islamic law told a reporter.
That would be the quote of the week.
Word means what you think it means.
No.
Inconceivable?
Holy crap.
Sunday school teacher sentenced for actions with teen. A Sunday school teacher who asked a 16-year-old boy to write, "What would Jesus do on his penis?" will spend a month on work release, according to the sentencing agreement reached Tuesday in Ramsey County District Court.
Oh, boy.
Todd Warren, 42, who pled guilty in April to a misdemeanor count of indecent exposure, was also originally ordered to write a letter describing the incident to fellow worshippers of Prairie Oak Community Church in Andover. But the church balked at the sentence, arguing that such a letter would be pornographic and would identify the teenage victim. Warren befriended the boy at church and briefly hired him as an employee, according to the court papers. Last September, Warren took the boy to a park and began asking him personal and sexual questions about masturbation and homosexuality. He invited the boy to his office and said that writing "What would Jesus do on his penis" would prevent sexual temptation. Warren also asked for daily email updates about the boy's sexual thoughts. I guess that really belongs in the backpedophilia story.
Yeah.
And the backpedophilia part is the response of the church and the parishioner, whose immediate reaction is, "He's not one of us.
Right.
We have nothing to do with that."
No true sexual predator.
Egyptian contacts.
All right. Well, I got actually these regular announcements I got to finish here.
Oh, okay.
Done everything way out of order today. That's all right. Okay. So if you hear of now, having heard all this crap, if you encounter any instances of slurs, defamation, or discrimination against atheists or other non-believers in the U.S. media, by all means, contact the National Atheist Ombuds by emailing ombuds@atheism.org. Please remember to include as many details as possible and a news source where applicable.
Well, that article about that guy where all the politicians were distancing themselves from his speech.
Yeah.
Let's get on that atheist ombuds thing. Cause
they didn't mention atheists there as far as I know, but
any anti-religious guy.
Oh, I'm sure.
Anything that's not of his religion.
You're right. But
yeah,
with all of this,
amazing.
You just don't get stories like this about atheists.
No.
You just don't.
No.
Where are they all? You know, and I'm not even going to go so far as to suggest that atheists are any better morally than religious people, right?
Right.
I think we're less confused about some matters of factual, some factual issues, but I'm not going to say we're better people. But where the hell are all these stories?
Yeah.
Is it just because we're only 14% of the population?
Let's see, the latest big story about, okay, we got the guy in the, trying to defend the Constitution.
Yeah, the latest big story was the guy defending the Constitution. Last one before that, I can think of Madalyn Murray O'Hair being murdered by a non-atheist.
Right.
No, but he was a con artist. He was.
Yeah.
But I don't know that he was a Christian because he joined the group.
I'm not saying he's a Christian.
Oh,
I'm saying he's a non-atheist.
Ah. Okay.
By his own admission.
But that's not why he killed her.
No,
he didn't kill her. He killed her for money. And not just her, but her and her son and her adopted daughter.
That's it. Where are the stories of atheists doing bad things?
I don't know. Well, they just don't do things in the name of atheism.
They?
Well,
we.
I mean,
we.
That's what I mean.
What's the worst thing you did last week?
I don't even remember. I don't know. I don't know. I can't say on the air.
I played games on the company time.
Me too.
About 15 minutes. That's what I did. That's the worst thing I did last week.
Yeah.
And everybody does that. I'm sure Christians are doing that too.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so godless Americans to march on Washington.
I could ask you something about what's going on with Tim, but...
Classified.
You didn't kill anybody, did you?
No.
No.
Of course not.
Just checking. Okay, American Atheists is organizing a march on Washington. This will occur on November 2 of this year.
Damn it, Jeff, you're knocking my hobbies.
What?
Killing people.
What? Where did that come from? But at least finally we got a story of some atheists. Who'd you kill? I'm going to pursue this now as far as you're going to play this particular gag.
Let me think about it.
All right. Come up with something good, will you?
Which one?
American Atheists is organizing a march on the Capitol, November 2. For information, go to www.godlessamericans.org. It'll tell you everything you need to know. They're also organizing a secular memorials effort to get atheists and other non-believers to conduct secular remembrance ceremonies on this coming September 11. And for that, go to www.secularmemorials.org. And finally, you can collect past episodes of The NonProphets and also an audio version of our sister show, The Atheist Experience, which airs on public access television only here in Austin, Texas, on a convenient CD. Each CD contains a full month worth of audio from both shows in both QuickTime and MP3, and also extra surprises. The CDs are $5 each. Contact atheist@mac.com. Russell, it is your floor. What do you got?
Woo! Well, you may remember...
Almost a full half hour.
Wow. Well, not really. More like...
All right, 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
You're wasting it now.
Sorry. After the way the teleportation thing had to be wrapped up quickly last time.
Yeah.
Well, anyway. You might remember 2 weeks ago when I was on, I said that that somebody made a comment on a radio show that I listened to on a Christian station that I wish I'd phoned in about, because they were sitting around speculating wildly about what kind of wicked motives Michael Newdow must have had.
Right.
And the host made the comment of something along the lines of saying that, well, I don't know about you, but in my experience, I've never known a happy atheist.
Right, and that set me off on a 5-minute rant, as I recall.
Yeah, they're all so full of hatred and vitriol and stuff.
It was a happy rant. Come on.
A rant about
just want to make that clear. It was a happy rant.
Yeah. He did it again on Monday. Lucky for me.
Oh,
I was
man.
still regretting not calling in, so I called. And I said to the screener, "Hi, I'm a happy atheist." And he said, "Okay, hang on." And he got me right on the air right away.
Yeah.
There was no one lined up. And they said, well, they were floored for a minute. They were like, well, the host asked, well, did you have a bad experience as a child that made you an atheist? And I said, nope, my father's an atheist. I have a great relationship with him. I have a newborn son who I love very much, and yada, yada, yada. I have a lot of quality friends. I find my job fulfilling, and there you go. I'm a happy atheist. They said, oh, well, I don't think you're truly happy. Actually, I'm not sure they said that at the time, but then I sent an email to the station when I got home so that I could follow up on that. And I said, well, I won't read the whole thing, but I said, I like your show. I think you've got some good humor in there, which, in my opinion, is rare in Christian shows. And I said, you seem like a reasonable guy, so I don't think you would want to go around spreading untruths about people you haven't met.
Yeah.
And I said, I'd even offer you a Christian perspective on why you shouldn't, kind of playing to them, saying, according to Christianity, all humans are born into sin and continue to struggle with sin even after they get saved. Becoming a Christian doesn't magically make you perfect, right? According to your own philosophy. So, I mean, you've just been forgiven. That's what the saying says. Well, you get to know enough non-Christians and you may realize that these are decent people who struggle with the same issues in their lives that you do. They happen not to share your belief system, but there are some complete scoundrels who are Christians, and equally many who are atheists. And there are plenty of good people in both camps who are willing to talk to each other. So this guy comes back at me. I really felt good about this because I thought that I
was even-handed.
I thought I would make a nice positive statement.
Yeah.
Right.
Come at them all friendly like and show that, we're not out to get you guys.
Right.
I closed up by saying, I'm just letting you know that most atheists aren't misanthropes, aren't chronically depressed, and aren't really all that interested in taking over the world.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he came back at me and he gave an irrelevant anecdote about a friend who was miserable until he turned to Christ.
So?
No.
And then he said, I don't know that you're truly happy. I don't know you. Can you prove it?
Oh.
Well, you first.
How about you prove that you're happy
Yeah,
first?
you prove you're happy first.
Yeah.
Then we'll compare.
Yeah, define happiness in a provable way.
Well, see, that's the thing. His proof is God.
Yeah, well,
that proves that he's happy.
I think he was shooting
then he'd
for
have to
an
prove
irony
God.
because I was saying that I just don't believe in God because there's no evidence for God.
I see.
And he was trying to play on that, and I didn't take the bait.
Right.
I just said, I don't know how to prove to you that my mental state is what I say it is. I mean, I can give you all these examples, like my job and my family and my friends and all these wonderful times that I have with all of you guys, basically.
Yeah.
But in the end, you
Except
just have to take my word for it.
Except for that one time. No,
Well, all the Christian has in response to that is denial. You know,
Right.
No, not really.
Right.
Right. So then what did you do?
And actually Martin and Ashley got in on the act and wrote some other stuff to him.
Right.
And his last response was, thanks again for your response to my response to your response. I'm not going to parse emails, but I think you and yours have come dangerously close to validating my original points.
Well,
I'm still not convinced that you are a bunch of happy campers, and I stand by what I said. Anyway, thanks for listening.
What an ass.
Not going to listen to us. Fine. Screw you.
Yeah, well, of course, it did not help if you had other people jumping in there, maybe
true.
saying stuff to that guy that he deserved.
Yeah.
Right? But not making your case, because of
we
course,
know that Martin
if you say,
can get a little enthusiastic, shall we say?
But you know, I mean, having been in that kind of predicament myself, and Dennis too, right? If you are simply dead serious and careful and precise about exactly what you mean to say, that gets interpreted as hostility.
Right.
Every time. Every time.
Yeah.
Even if that's all you say to them.
No.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Every time.
Why would that
Absolutely.
Every time.
Because our very existence is an insult to them.
That's true.
Well, I can see that.
Because here's why. And maybe you've not done a lot of email debate.
No, I haven't.
Right? Or news group debate.
Oh,
but
it's...
there are several cards you can play to get out of a debate you are losing and come off smelling like you won. And one of them is my opponent got angry and so I win card.
Uh-huh.
That is so common.
I saw that at the debate that we all went to.
Yeah?
Remember the intelligent design debate where you spent some time arguing with that guy after the debate.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, well, you seem very angry about this."
I'm the wounded victim.
Exactly. Yeah, right. And so in order to be able to play that card, if you are serious and precise and most of all correct, right? Mm-hmm. Then you're going to win the debate. And then they take advantage of that lack of touchy-feeliness in order to say, oh, well, you are angry because you are not joking around and you're not, it's not just a happy little back and forth discussion now. Now you really mean it.
You were saying that if...
So then they say, that means you're angry, and so I will play this card, in the debate and say, oh, well, I won't argue with you anymore. You are clearly hostile.
Right.
And so I win because you are angry and therefore irrational and therefore you must be wrong, no matter how good of an argument you just made.
Yeah. And then you're saying earlier, if you're too happy, then they say, well, there must be something wrong because you're just covering with your happiness.
Or they will play that, or they will take that as an invitation for them to then try to convert you if you're too friendly, or they will take it as an excuse to simply lash out with more insane, even more irrelevant arguments that you can't oppose those without pulling back and saying, well, wait a minute. Let's get serious now. And as soon as you're serious, you're hostile, they get to play the card that says, you're hostile, so I win.
Yeah.
Oh, let me interject real quick, because the chat room has had so little say today.
Okay.
And there's this great quote here that Andy22 is posting.
Yeah.
This is from George Bernard Shaw. The fact that a believer is happier than a skeptic is no more to the point than the fact that a drunken man is happier than a sober one. The happiness of credulity is a cheap and dangerous quality.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
I love that, except that I don't agree that a believer is happier than a skeptic.
Right. But it is a good way to play it.
Yeah.
Is there anybody in the chat room, by the way, from the Alt Atheism news group where we posted an announcement about the show periodically? Would anybody in the chat room? Yeah, anybody in the chat room who's a regular on Alt Atheism, please post a comment.
Raise your hand
so we see what kind of response we're getting from there.
Anyway, one last point I wanted to make about this email exchange was that after I got this last letter, I was really annoyed and I couldn't think of anything to write back that wouldn't be overtly hostile.
Yeah.
Try that. Try that quote.
What? Yeah, the quote. The George Bernard Shaw quote.
What do you mean, which quote? You're looking at the screen. The same one
you just read.
What about it?
Use that. Use that quote.
It's directly applicable.
Oh.
So you're saying, go on.
Yeah, but anyway, I was listening to the same station the next morning.
Yeah.
Kind of stewing about it.
Yeah.
And I couldn't help thinking, every single one of these shows on this station is a wall-to-wall bitch fest about how bad shape we're in as a country. Right. Are these people happy?
Yeah. Does this guy not complain about anything on his show?
Well, here's the thing. You are willing to take his word for it that he's happy, despite the fact that his show is a wall-to-wall bitch fest about everything that's wrong in the world. Right? In spite of the fact that he acts, that all the stuff indicates that, the world is a terrible place, he must be unhappy. Right. You're willing to take his word for it. He's not willing to take your word for it.
Mm-hmm.
He won't give you the same courtesy.
Yep.
No.
Yep. No. Okay.
Well, because like you said, Dennis, that's a threat to his belief.
That's right.
So.
Yeah. If someone who doesn't believe in God can be happy, that casts doubt on his beliefs.
Yeah.
Can't have that. No,
that's right. That's right.
He's got to be lying.
Right. Because of course the purpose of life has always got to be as mindlessly, stupidly happy as you possibly can.
Right.
That is their assumption, which I happen to completely disagree with. I think happiness is a fine thing. It's a fine gauge of how well you're doing, but it is not the end unto itself.
Right.
Any more than the reason for driving a car is to see that odometer roll over to 100,000.
That's a good analogy.
It's just telling you how you're doing. That's all. I got a wrap-up story here, which maybe we can talk about for the last 15 minutes. If you're finished with your comments on this show.
Yeah, but it's more like 5 minutes because we'll be starting the closing music.
Okay, fine. 5 minutes.
3:22 now.
Do you want to mention the station or the guy that you were talking to?
If you're in Austin, it's 970 AM, KIXL, Ed Sossin. Call him too, and after 5 p.m., I think, and tell him you're a happy atheist too, if you're interested.
I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm happy.
Happy,
cool.
Happy, George.
All right. Well, another thing that's been all over the news lately is the story of baseball player Ted Williams, whose son is having him frozen. Let me just do the story here, and you'll see the relevance to our program in a minute. While the baseball world will honor the late Ted Williams as the at the All-Star game in Milwaukee on Tuesday night. That's probably last Tuesday. The Red Sox nation is giving his son, John Henry, the cold shoulder. Ted Williams' body now resides in a cryonic warehouse at Alcor Life Extension Foundation in Scottsdale, Arizona, moved there by his son, John Henry Williams. The elder Williams died of cardiac arrest Friday at Citrus Memorial Hospital in Inverness, Florida. He was a two-time MVP who twice won the Triple Crown. He hit .344 lifetime with 521 home runs, despite twice interrupting his career to serve as a Marine Corps pilot in World War II and the Korean War. And I read those baseball statistics because Mary here actually cares about baseball.
Thank you.
Freak.
The
boy.
Give it a try.
The Boston Globe.
Scholar.
Yeah, you baseball scholar.
Not hardly, but getting there.
The Boston Globe reported that Claudia Williams, John Henry's sister from Dolores Watak, Ted's third wife, and Bobby Joe Williams Farrell, his older half-sister from Ted's first marriage to Doris Sewell, insist that their father's oft-stated desire was to be cremated.
Yeah.
It may be worth mentioning that Claudia received only a small portion of the proceeds from Ted Williams' will, and thus may have an axe to grind. Quote, Ted wanted to be cremated, unquote, former teammate Johnny Pesky noted. He was an atheist. He didn't believe in religion. Okay, now.
I believe in religion.
Well, you know what he meant.
I have direct experience with it.
So what part of this do we want to take? Famous baseball star happens to be atheist, or cryonics?
Or elder abuse?
Reasonable if unlikely option, or completely insane?
I think
you know where I stand.
I will tell everybody I have the paperwork for from Alcor in a drawer at my home. I was preparing to get it filled out the last time I had a company that I worked at go belly up.
Yeah.
And I haven't had the money to follow through until, well, maybe soon.
There's a filing fee? Or something to do this?
No, but there's no point to filing unless you can come through with the actual money to pay for the procedure.
Right.
How much is it?
It's not cheap.
Several. Just ballpark.
But neither are funerals, mind you.
Ballpark figure.
Let me just say that the way you generally pay for it is by taking out a life insurance policy and making them the beneficiary.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That is generally the way you do
Sounds
it.
like
So
a
what you
scam.
do then is you're paying monthly payments into the life insurance policy to make it worth the amount that they're going to need for their services when you die.
I see.
Now I don't know what the hell's going on here. I will say that I've got a personal angle on this because I think that cryonics, while admittedly far-fetched, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
There is no proof of concept that it will ever actually work. In theory, being an atheist and knowing that life boils down to physical laws and physical particles doing what they do, that there's no magical soul to animate the body or anything, that this is as good a shot as there is at preserving yourself so that later technology might be able to restore what they've preserved to functionality.
If you cremate yourself, you've reduced your chances of, returning from the dead to effectively zero.
Unless there's time travel. There's some kind of time travel thing to scan you, but go back in time and scan you before your death and recreate you.
But then they can do that before you get frozen too. So it's like,
Right. So I mean,
you have the same chance there. But if you get frozen, well, there's a chance it won't work, but there's also a chance that it could, and that takes that
and
above zero.
I've seen.
You have to be before death to get clinically frozen.
This is a good point.
And that's the problem.
To be legally frozen, you have to be declared clinically dead, which is of course bad because a lot more damage.
Dead, right?
A lot more damage happens after the cessation of your physical processes.
Yeah.
Your cells start to deteriorate from
Right.
oxygen.
And you get rigor
delay
mortis and all that.
is crucial.
There's ischemia is the word for what happens to your brain deprived of oxygen. Isn't that it?
Or is that what happens when it's frozen?
No, I think that's what happens when you're deprived of oxygen.
Okay.
So there is a connection here between cryonics and, say, the assisted suicide movement.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of people who are signed up at Alcor who are thinking, if I get some kind of degenerative brain disorder and can't be frozen until I'm declared clinically dead, by the time I can be declared clinically dead, there ain't going to be enough of my brain to hold my thoughts and memories to make it worth even doing.
Right.
And that's a serious issue. Comments?
I have one.
What?
Well, one thing
I
that
think we're going to have to start wrapping up
we'll start wrapping
time in the future.
Why?
Because they're going back to a 24/7 feed where they have scheduled shows.
Well, why don't we save this for next time?
Goodbye, everybody. I just saw Reggie say that he changed it.
Well,
He
apparently you
said
don't
he's changing it now. So.
have to.
Oh.
Well.
All right.
Let's wrap up anyway.
Okay.
We will end that here. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll be back next week. We will leave you with XTC doing a season cycle.
And Vic Farrell will be back next time.
Yep.
We hope.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.
Bye.